Today, we are diving into the story of poetry. And let me tell you, it is a story of rebellion. We're going to trace how it went from being this art form with centuries of super rigid rules to the raw, powerful, and sometimes revolutionary voice that we know today. So let's be real. When you hear the word poetry, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it, dusty old books filled with these and thous? And yeah, that's definitely part of its history. But the reality of poetry today, it's something else entirely. It's immediate, it's political, and it's actually shaping our world as we speak. And a quote like this just flips that whole old-fashioned idea right on its head. Today, you've got poets like Saul Williams and Patricia Smith, who are using words to tackle social justice, identity, politics, you name it. Poetry has really evolved from this quiet personal art form into a megaphone for the unheard. So here's our game plan for this journey. We'll start with the basics. What even is poetry? Then we'll open up what I like to call the poet's toolbox. After that, we'll meet the rebels, the romantics, who started breaking all the rules, and see how their revolution paved the way for the powerful spoken word poetry of today. Okay, first things first. Before we can really get into the rule breaking, we need to understand what the rules even are, right? What actually makes a poem? Well, a poem. At its very core, poetry is language that's been concentrated and intensified. It's not just about what the words mean, but it's also about how they sound and how they make you feel. You can almost think of it as language that works like music. It's hitting you on a bunch of different levels all at once. And to build that musicality, to create that structure, poets have a whole set of tools they can use. So let's go ahead and open up that toolbox and see what's inside. So poetic form is basically the blueprint of a poem. It's the underlying set of rules, the ones that control the rhyme, the length of the lines, the rhythm, that gives a poem its unique shape. And whether it's a super strict sonnet or something way more experimental, that structure is always intentional. It adds its own layer of meaning. Meter. Now this is the poem's heartbeat. The most famous one, of course, is iambic pentameter. That's Shakespeare's rhythm. It has this really distinct da-dum, da-dum, the dum pulse. Just listen. But soft, what light through yonder window breaks. You hear that? That steady, driving rhythm is what gives so much of that classic poetry its formal, powerful pace. Okay, now this is a really crucial distinction for our story, so stick with me here. Blank verse has that strict meter we just talked about, that da-dum, da-dun, but the lines don't actually rhyme. Free verse, on the other hand, just throws both of those rules out the window. No consistent meter, no rhyme scheme. It's kind of like the difference between a perfectly paved road and just wandering through an open field. So who started pushing against all these rules? Well, let's meet our first group of rebels, the Romantics. You can think of these guys as the rock stars of late 18th and early 19th century poetry. This quote basically sums up their whole philosophy. They were reacting against this era of cold logic from the Enlightenment, and they championed something totally different. For them, true insight wasn't found in reason, but in intense emotion, in raw individual experience, and in the awesome power of the natural world. And the movement had this amazing cast of characters. You had Wordsworth, who basically found spirituality in the countryside, Coleridge, who was all about dreams and the supernatural, Shelley was the political radical, Keats was the master of beauty and sensory details, and Lord Byron, well, he was the classic rebel, fighting for freedom. They each took that core idea of individual emotion and just ran with it in their own unique directions. So the Romantics, they cracked the door open for rebellion. But the poets who came after them, they kicked that door completely off its hinges. This is where the old rulebook really got thrown out for good, leading to what felt like absolute poetic freedom. And you can see this direct line of revolution right here on this timeline. It all kicks off with the Romantics in 1798. Then, about 50 years later, Walt Whitman shows up and completely changes the game. His influence then fuels the beat poets of the 50s, which in turn sets the stage for the poetry slams that just exploded in the 1980s. Walt Whitman is absolutely the key figure here. I mean, he's called the father of free verse for a very good reason. He proved that you could ditch rhyme, you could ditch meter, but you could still create something with this incredible, powerful rhythm and structure. He actually got a lot of his inspiration from the long, flowing lines in the Bible. So this move toward a more natural, speech-based rhythm leads us straight to the next huge evolution, taking poetry out of the book entirely and putting it right up on a stage in front of a live audience. The spoken word movement, which was born out of these competitive poetry slams, was a total game changer. It was massively influenced by the energy and the incredible wordplay of hip hop. This was not quiet, sit in your armchair poetry. This was loud, it was urgent, it was political, and it gave this massive platform to voices that mainstream literature had frankly often ignored. Because in spoken word, how you deliver the poem is just as important as the words themselves. The poem isn't just sitting on the page, it's being performed. The voice becomes an instrument. Your body adds a whole other layer of meaning, and the whole thing becomes this living, breathing conversation with the audience. Okay, so we've come all this way, from Shakespeare's strict rules to the modern slam stage. So what does that mean for poetry's role in the world right now? Why does any of this matter today? While the impact is immense, modern poetry has completely broken out of the university classroom. It really belongs to everyone now. It amplifies voices from marginalized communities, it offers a powerful tool for healing and self-expression, and it creates real, genuine communities both online and in person. And of course, technology has completely changed the game. Social media is the new global stage. Poets like Rupi Kaur can share their work with literally millions of people instantly, proving there's this huge appetite out there for poetry that is direct, emotional, and accessible. So, from strict rules to a total revolution, poetry has always been a mirror. It's always evolving to reflect the world around it. It captures the spirit of an age. And that leaves us with a really big question. What story will the poetry being written today tell future generations about our time?